If you're over 60 years old and you've been feeling weaker, more tired, and struggling to do the simple activities you used to do with ease, what I'm about to share with you could change everything. There's a simple food choice you're probably overlooking every single night that could be silently robbing you of your strength, your energy, and your independence. And the worst part, most people discover this too late, after they've already lost precious muscle mass that becomes incredibly difficult to rebuild. I'm Dr. Emily Hartman, and I've been working as a geriatric medicine specialist for over 15 years. Throughout my career, I've seen hundreds of patients struggling with the same pattern, losing strength year after year, becoming more dependent on others, and feeling like their best years are behind them. But here's what I've learned. It doesn't have to be this way. The choices you make at night, particularly what you eat before bed, can be the difference between thriving independence and gradual decline. Before we dive into this life-changing information, if you haven't subscribed yet, I strongly recommend hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications so you never miss another health tip designed specifically for you. And if you find this video helpful, please leave your questions and video suggestions in the comments below. I read every single one, and it helps me create more content to help more people just like you. Let me tell you about something that happened just 3 months ago in my practice. I met Mr. Carlos, a 72-year-old retired teacher from Porto Alegre. Carlos came into my office looking defeated. He told me that 2 years ago, he was playing soccer with his grandchildren, gardening every weekend, and living an active, fulfilling life. But gradually, everything changed. He started feeling exhausted all the time. His legs felt weak when climbing stairs, and he even had trouble carrying his groceries from the car. His wife, Maria, was worried sick. She told me Carlos had become a different person, withdrawn and frustrated because he couldn't do the things he loved anymore. When I ran his tests, the results weren't surprising to me, but they shocked Carlos. He had lost nearly 15% of his muscle mass in just 2 years. This condition, called sarcopenia, affects millions of people over 60. But here's the thing. It's not just about aging. After reviewing Carlos's eating habits, I discovered something crucial. Like so many people, he was eating a light dinner, usually just soup and bread, thinking he was being healthy by not eating heavy meals at night. But he was making a critical mistake that was accelerating his muscle loss. You see, when we sleep, our bodies go into repair mode. This is when muscle tissue regenerates and rebuilds. But to do this effectively, your body needs adequate protein, specifically amino acids, which are the building blocks of muscle. Without enough protein at night, your body starts breaking down existing muscle tissue to get the amino acids it needs for essential functions. It's like trying to renovate a house but only having enough materials to tear down walls, not build them back up. Night after night, this deficit adds up, and before you know it, you've lost significant muscle mass and strength. What makes this even more critical is that after age 60, our bodies become less efficient at processing protein. We develop what's called anabolic resistance, which means we need more protein than younger people to achieve the same muscle-building effect. Think of it like this. When you were 30, your body was like a high-efficiency machine that could extract maximum benefit from every gram of protein you consumed. But as we age, that efficiency drops. It's like trying to charge your phone with an old, worn-out cable. You need more time and more energy to get the same result. This is why the evening protein becomes absolutely crucial. During those 7 to 8 hours of sleep, if your body doesn't have adequate amino acids available, it will cannibalize your existing muscle tissue. And once you lose muscle, it becomes exponentially harder to rebuild it. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You've probably heard that eating before bed is bad for you, that it causes weight gain or disrupts your sleep. And while eating heavy, greasy, or sugary foods at night can indeed cause problems, the right type of food, particularly protein-rich foods, can actually improve your health, your strength, and even your sleep quality. This is where most people get it wrong, and it's costing them their vitality. Let me share another case that really illustrates this point. Mrs. Helena, A 68-year-old seamstress from Curitiba came to see me because she was having terrible insomnia. She'd wake up multiple times during the night, feel anxious, and then be exhausted all day. She'd tried everything: meditation apps, herbal teas, even sleeping pills her previous doctor prescribed. Nothing worked. But when we sat down and reviewed her daily routine, I noticed something interesting. Helena was eating her last meal around 5 in the afternoon because she believed eating late was unhealthy. By bedtime, she'd gone 6 or 7 hours without food. Here's what was happening in Helena's body. When your blood sugar drops too low during the night, your body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to raise it back up. These are the same hormones that wake you up in the morning, so imagine them flooding your system at 2 or 3 in the morning. No wonder Helena couldn't sleep. I recommended she start eating a small, protein-rich snack about an hour before bed. Within 2 weeks, she was sleeping through the night for the first time in years. But the benefits didn't stop there. After 3 months of this simple change, combined with adequate protein throughout the day, Helena told me she had more energy than she'd had in a decade. She was taking longer walks, had returned to dancing, which she loved, and most importantly, she felt like herself again. Her husband told me something that really stuck with me. He said Helena had stopped smiling for almost a year. She was so exhausted and frustrated that she'd lost her joy. But after making these changes, he said it was like getting his wife back. They started taking evening walks together, something they hadn't done in years. Helena even opened a small sewing business from home, taking on custom orders, which gave her a renewed sense of purpose. This is what I mean when I say nutrition isn't just about physical health. It affects every aspect of your life, your mood, your relationships, your sense of purpose and fulfillment. So what should you be eating at night? The answer is high-quality protein combined with some complex carbohydrates. Now, I need to be specific here because not all proteins are created equal. The best options include Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, eggs, fish, chicken, turkey, or plant-based options like beans, lentils, and tofu. These foods provide what we call complete proteins, meaning they contain all the essential amino acids your body needs to build and repair muscle tissue. And here's the key. You want to consume between 20 and 30 grams of protein in your evening meal or snack. But let me break this down even further because I know numbers can be confusing. If you choose Greek yogurt, you'll need about 1.5 cups to reach 25 grams of protein. With cottage cheese, 1 cup gives you about 25 grams. 2 large eggs provide 12 grams, so you'd want to pair them with a slice of cheese or some lean meat to reach your target. A palm-sized portion of chicken, about 3 to 4 ounces, gives you approximately 28 grams. Canned tuna or salmon, about 1 can, provides around 25 grams. If you're plant-based, 1 cup of cooked lentils gives you 18 grams, so you might pair that with some quinoa or nuts to reach your goal. Let me tell you about Mr. Joao, an 80-year-old former bus driver from Salvador. When Joao first came to my practice, he was using a walker and had fallen twice in the past 6 months. His daughter brought him in, terrified that the next fall could be fatal. Falls are the leading cause of injury and death in older adults, and most falls happen because of muscle weakness and poor balance. When I evaluated Joao, his muscle mass was critically low, and he had what we call frailty syndrome. His family was considering moving him to a nursing home because they were afraid to leave him alone. But Joao was determined to regain his independence. He told me through tears that he'd driven a bus for 45 years, navigating the streets of Salvador with confidence and skill. The thought of not being able to walk safely in his own home was devastating to him. We created a comprehensive plan that included gentle resistance exercises, but the foundation was nutrition. I had Joao start eating scrambled eggs with cheese and whole grain toast every night about 2 hours before bed. This gave him approximately 25 grams of protein plus complex carbohydrates that would sustain him through the night. We also increased his protein intake throughout the day and made sure he was getting enough vitamin D and calcium. The transformation was remarkable. After 6 months, Joao had gained back significant muscle mass. His balance had improved dramatically, and he no longer needed the walker. He told me with tears in his eyes that he could pick up his great-grandchildren again, something he thought he'd never do. But there's more to this story. Joao's daughter called me after about 8 months to share something incredible. Her father had started volunteering at a local community center, teaching young people about the history of Salvador and sharing stories from his decades driving through the city. He'd found a new purpose, a new way to contribute, and it all started with regaining his physical strength and independence. If you're still watching and finding this information valuable, comment yes below to show me you're following along. I love hearing from you, and it helps me know what content is most helpful. Now, timing is important too. You don't want to eat immediately before lying down, as this can cause acid reflux and discomfort. The ideal window is about 1 to 2 hours before bed. This gives your body time to begin digesting and allows the amino acids to start entering your bloodstream, where they'll be available throughout the night for muscle repair and synthesis. And here's something fascinating that most people don't know. Consuming protein before bed can actually increase your resting metabolic rate. This means you burn more calories even while sleeping, which helps prevent age-related weight gain. Let me explain the science behind this in a way that makes sense. Your body uses energy to digest and process food, a phenomenon called the thermic effect of food. Protein has the highest thermic effect of all macronutrients, meaning your body burns more calories processing protein than it does processing carbohydrates or fats. When you eat protein before bed, your metabolism stays slightly elevated throughout the night, burning additional calories while you sleep. Additionally, maintaining and building muscle tissue requires energy. The more muscle mass you have, the more calories your body burns at rest. So, by consuming nighttime protein and preserving your muscle mass, you're essentially turning your body into a more efficient calorie-burning machine, even while you're sleeping. Let me share what happened with Mrs. Ana Paula, a 65-year-old retired nurse from Belo Horizonte. Ana Paula had always been careful about her weight, but after menopause, she started gaining fat around her midsection no matter how much she dieted during the day. She was eating very little, maybe 1,200 calories a day, mostly salads and fruit, with almost no food after 6 in the evening. She couldn't understand why she kept gaining weight despite eating so little. When I saw her labs, the problem was clear. She had very low muscle mass and a slow metabolism. Here's the irony. By eating too little and avoiding protein, especially at night, Ana Paula's body was breaking down muscle tissue for energy. And muscle is metabolically active, meaning it burns calories even at rest. Less muscle equals a slower metabolism, which means weight gain even when eating very little. It becomes a vicious cycle. I explained to Ana Paula that she needed to eat more, not less, but she needed to eat the right things. We added a protein-rich evening snack, usually a small bowl of cottage cheese with berries or a hard-boiled egg with whole grain crackers. We also made sure she was eating adequate protein at every meal throughout the day. The results surprised her. In the first month, she actually lost 3 pounds, but more importantly, she had more energy and felt stronger. After 6 months, she had lost 15 pounds of fat while gaining muscle. Her clothes fit better, and she told me she felt 20 years younger. She could garden for hours, play with her grandchildren, and even started teaching yoga at her local community center. Ana Paula's story illustrates a crucial point. The goal isn't just to maintain your weight as you age, it's to maintain and build lean muscle mass while losing excess fat. And nighttime protein consumption is a key strategy for achieving this. Ana Paula shared something with me that really resonated. She said for years she'd been at war with her body, constantly restricting, feeling guilty about eating, and watching the scale go up despite her efforts. But once she understood that her body needed proper nutrition to function well, everything changed. She stopped seeing food as the enemy and started seeing it as medicine, as fuel for the life she wanted to live. She told me she wishes she'd known this information 20 years earlier, but she's grateful to know it now and to have the opportunity to age with strength and vitality. But if what I've shared so far has surprised you, Wait until you hear about the connection between nighttime protein and brain health. This is something that's often overlooked, but it's absolutely critical. Mr. Roberto, a 75-year-old retired accountant from Rio de Janeiro, came to see me because his family was worried about his memory. He was forgetting appointments, repeating questions, and having trouble finding words. His wife thought it might be early Alzheimer's disease, and they were both terrified. Memory issues are one of the biggest fears people have as they age, and rightfully so. After a comprehensive evaluation, including cognitive testing and brain imaging, I found that Roberto didn't have Alzheimer's. What he had was something called metabolic cognitive impairment, partly driven by poor nutrition and unstable blood sugar during sleep. Your brain is incredibly active during sleep, consolidating memories and clearing out toxins. But to do this work, it needs a steady supply of energy. When blood sugar drops too low at night, brain function suffers. Additionally, amino acids from protein are needed to produce neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that allow brain cells to communicate. Let me explain this connection more deeply because it's fascinating. Your brain uses neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and acetylcholine to function properly. These neurotransmitters are made from amino acids. For example, tryptophan, an amino acid found in protein, is the precursor to serotonin, which regulates mood and sleep. Tyrosine, another amino acid, is needed to produce dopamine, which affects motivation, focus, and memory. When you don't consume adequate protein, especially at night, your brain doesn't have the raw materials it needs to produce these critical neurotransmitters. Over time, this can lead to cognitive decline, mood problems, and memory issues. I recommended Roberto start eating a balanced evening snack that included protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates. He began eating a small portion of grilled chicken with sweet potato and vegetables about 90 minutes before bed. Within weeks, his family noticed improvements. He was more alert, his word finding improved, and he stopped being so forgetful. After 6 months, his cognitive testing scores had improved significantly. Roberto told me it felt like a fog had lifted from his mind. He was reading again, doing crossword puzzles, and even started learning to play the guitar, something he'd always wanted to do. Roberto's wife called me one day, and I could hear the emotion in her voice. She said she'd been preparing herself for the worst, imagining a future where her husband wouldn't recognize her, where they'd lose all the memories they'd built together over 50 years of marriage. But instead, they were making new memories. They'd started taking a cooking class together, something Roberto never would have considered before, because he said he couldn't focus long enough to follow recipes. Now, he was not only following recipes, but improvising and creating his own dishes. His renewed cognitive function gave them both hope for the future and a renewed appreciation for each day together. Now, I want to address something important. Some of you might be thinking this sounds too simple, that surely there must be expensive supplements or complicated protocols involved. But here's the truth I've learned after 15 years of working with older adults. The fundamentals of health are often surprisingly simple. It's not about the latest superfood or trendy supplement. It's about consistently giving your body what it needs, when it needs it. And one of the most overlooked times is the evening and overnight period, when your body is doing crucial repair work. Let me tell you about Mrs. Lucia, a 70-year-old former dancer from Fortaleza. Lucia had always been active and took pride in her physical fitness. But after a minor surgery to repair a torn meniscus, she became very weak and never seemed to fully recover. She'd get winded just walking to her mailbox, and she felt exhausted all the time. Her doctors told her it was just part of getting older, but Lucia refused to accept that. When she came to my practice, I could see she was frustrated and desperate for answers. After reviewing her case, I found that Lucia's protein intake was extremely low, barely 40 grams a day when she needed at least 80 to 90 grams for recovery and muscle maintenance. And she was eating almost nothing after lunch, just a small bowl of soup for dinner. I explained that after surgery, or any physical stress, your body's protein needs increase significantly. And without adequate protein, especially at night when recovery happens, she couldn't rebuild the strength she'd lost. We created a meal plan that included protein at every meal and a substantial evening snack of Greek yogurt with nuts and honey. The change was dramatic. Within a month, Lucia's energy returned. Within 3 months, she was back to teaching dance classes at her local community center. She told me that for the first time since her surgery, she felt strong and vibrant again. She could dance for hours, travel to visit her children, and live the active lifestyle she loved. Lucia's story reminds me why I love what I do. Simple nutritional changes can have profound effects on people's lives. But Lucia taught me something else too. She said that when doctors told her weakness was just part of aging, she felt dismissed and hopeless. She felt like society was telling her to accept decline, to shrink her world, to give up the things that brought her joy. But she knew in her heart that wasn't right, and she was correct. Age does bring changes, but it doesn't have to bring weakness and dependence. With the right nutrition, exercise, and mindset, we can maintain strength and vitality well into our 80s and beyond. Let me share one more case that really drives this point home. Mr. Fernando, a 67-year-old retired fisherman from Recife, came to see me with his son. Fernando had been living alone since his wife passed away 3 years earlier, and his son was worried because Fernando seemed to be giving up on life. He barely ate, spent most of his days sitting in front of the television, and had stopped doing the things he loved, like fishing and woodworking. His son thought it was depression, and in part it was. But there was also a physical component that was making everything worse. When I evaluated Fernando, I found severe malnutrition and muscle wasting. He'd lost over 30 pounds in the past year, mostly muscle. He told me he just didn't have an appetite anymore, and cooking for one person seemed pointless. This is a common problem I see in older adults, especially those who've lost a spouse. Food becomes associated with social connection and pleasure, and when that's gone, eating becomes a chore. But the consequences are devastating. Without adequate nutrition, particularly protein, the body and brain suffer, which worsens depression and creates a downward spiral. I worked with Fernando and his son to create a simple meal plan that Fernando could manage. We focused on easy, protein-rich options that didn't require much cooking. Rotisserie chicken from the market, canned fish, hard-boiled eggs he could prepare once a week, cheese, yogurt, and protein shakes. Most importantly, we made sure Fernando had a substantial evening snack, usually a sandwich with meat and cheese or a bowl of yogurt with granola. His son started joining him for this evening snack a few times a week, which gave Fernando something to look forward to. The transformation took time, but it was profound. After 3 months, Fernando had gained back 10 pounds of healthy weight, and his mood had improved noticeably. After 6 months, he'd started fishing again, going out with a group of friends from his old fishing days. He even started a small woodworking project, building a toy chest for his grandson. His son told me he felt like he had his father back, and Fernando told me something I'll never forget. He said food had become fuel for living again, not just something to get through the day. Every meal, especially that evening snack, was a choice to be strong, to be present, to keep living fully. Before I wrap up, I want to give you some practical guidelines for implementing this in your own life. First, aim for 20 to 30 grams of protein in your evening meal or snack. If you're not sure what that looks like, here are some examples. 3 ounces of chicken or fish, about the size of a deck of cards, provides roughly 25 grams. 2 eggs give you about 12 grams, so combine them with cheese or Greek yogurt to reach your target. 1 cup of cottage cheese provides about 25 grams, or you can have a smoothie with protein powder, though I generally prefer whole food sources when possible. Second, pair your protein with some complex carbohydrates. This helps stabilize blood sugar and can improve sleep quality. Good options include whole grain crackers, a slice of whole grain bread, sweet potato, oatmeal, or brown rice. The carbohydrates trigger a modest insulin response, which helps shuttle amino acids into your muscles more efficiently. It's like opening the door to let the nutrients in where they're needed most. Third, don't forget healthy fats in moderation. A small amount of nuts, avocado, olive oil, or nut butter helps with nutrient absorption and satiety. Fats also slow down digestion slightly, which means the amino acids are released more gradually throughout the night, providing a steady supply for muscle repair. Fourth, eat this meal or snack about 1 to 2 hours before bed, not right before lying down. This timing is crucial. If you eat too close to bedtime, you might experience acid reflux or discomfort that disrupts your sleep. But if you eat too early, the amino acids might not be available throughout the entire night when your body needs them most. 1 to 2 hours is the sweet spot for most people. And fifth, stay consistent. The benefits accumulate over time. You won't see dramatic results overnight, but if you stick with it for a few weeks, you'll likely notice improvements in your energy, strength, sleep quality, and overall well-being. I also want to emphasize that while nighttime protein is important, it's just one piece of the puzzle. You need adequate protein throughout the day, ideally 25 to 30 grams at each meal. This is because your body can only process and use a certain amount of protein at one time. Eating all your protein in 1 or 2 meals doesn't work as well as distributing it evenly throughout the day. You also need resistance exercise, even gentle weight training or resistance bands, to stimulate muscle growth. Protein provides the building blocks, but exercise provides the signal that tells your body to use those building blocks to make muscle. And you need adequate sleep, typically 7 to 9 hours for most adults, because that's when the actual muscle repair and building happens. You also need proper hydration, as even mild dehydration can impair muscle function and recovery. And don't forget about stress management, because chronic stress elevates cortisol, which breaks down muscle tissue. Think of it as a comprehensive approach to healthy aging, with nighttime nutrition as a crucial component that's often overlooked. It's like building a house. You need a strong foundation, solid walls, a good roof, proper insulation, and all the systems working together. Nighttime protein is one of those essential systems. Without it, everything else becomes harder. Here's my final reflection for you. Getting older doesn't have to mean getting weaker. It doesn't have to mean giving up the activities you love or becoming dependent on others. I've seen countless patients in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s reclaim their strength, energy, and independence through simple nutritional strategies like the ones I've shared today. The key is consistency and commitment. Your body has an incredible ability to rebuild and repair itself at any age, but you have to give it the raw materials it needs to do that work. If you take nothing else from this video, remember this: what you eat at night matters just as much as what you eat during the day. That evening meal or snack isn't just about satisfying hunger. It's fuel for overnight repair and recovery. It's the foundation for waking up stronger, more energized, and more capable of living the life you want to live. Don't make the mistake of skipping this crucial opportunity to support your body's natural healing processes. Every single night is an opportunity to invest in your strength, your health, and your future independence. Now, before you make any major changes to your diet or routine, please consult with your own healthcare provider. Everyone's situation is unique, and you may have specific health conditions or medications that require personalized guidance. What I've shared today is educational information based on current scientific understanding and my clinical experience, but it's not a substitute for individualized medical advice. Your doctor can help you determine the right amount of protein for your specific needs, taking into account any kidney issues, allergies, or other health concerns you might have. If you found this information helpful, please hit the like button and share this video with someone who might benefit from it. And don't forget to leave your questions and suggestions in the comments. I read every one and use them to create content that addresses your specific concerns. Remember, you have more control over your health and vitality than you might think. Small, consistent changes can lead to remarkable transformations. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll dive even deeper into strategies for staying strong, healthy, and independent as you age.